I have the honor of serving on the board of trustees of a small Montessori school in my neighborhood in DC, where both of my children have been students. One is currently a student and one graduated a couple of years ago. And over the last couple of days, I've been at a board retreat. So if the bags under my eyes are a little bit bigger than most Sundays, that might explain it. But it was a lovely time together, being a part of a community based on shared values and a shared mission. And much of our time was spent talking about equity, inclusion, and belonging, not only as members of the leadership of the community, but also as the values and virtues we want to instill in every child we serve. We considered how these values are central components of the Montessori approach to education, the mission and vision of the school, and we thought about what it takes for each of us and those of us who have children at the school for them to feel a true sense of belonging in that community. Given that our spiritual theme this month is building belonging, it was a useful Sunday before this sermon for sure, and a lot of similarities happening. And as I reflected in that room, a few fundamental feelings and attitudes came to mind about what I need when I am to feel true belonging. One of them is the freedom to take risks, to be myself and share the parts of me I'm proud of and those with which I struggle, to make mistakes, and to be received for who I am in my entirety. I was struck this morning about the way we share with one another. That is a form of risk-taking. And I remember the first time I felt truly home in a church was in All Souls Church as a man in his 20s, feeling a lot of guilt and shame. Sorry. And feeling like I could say, even to myself, what it was that I needed to be held. Also, what I need is trust, to know that when I do make mistakes or when I'm away for a while, I can return to that group of people, that community, and still fill my place. That there can be rupture and repair, that somebody saved my seat. I think about how I feel when my spouse or children and I come back together after a disagreement, or how it can feel when I see old friends. I also need a feeling of a connection to the legacy of that group, knowing that I might not have been there from the beginning, but knowing that I have some part of the shared history and customs and connection and languages of that group. A recognition that the people who came before that I may never have met were also my people, and that they were doing their best in a challenging world that they were facing. I also need to feel belonging. I need to feel a role in the future of that community. And know that belonging is not just about being supported by that community, but it's also about contributing to its continuation and growth, to being involved in caring for others, for serving on the board, for opening arms and making space for anyone else who comes after I've arrived, or for those Boy Scouts and campers among us, leaving it better than I found it. And when those four elements, the freedom to take risks, trust of return, connection to a legacy, and a role and a sense of belonging to the future of the group, when those elements are present, that's when I feel truly connected. English, of course, can be tricky, though. Belonging so often refer to our possessions, doesn't it? The things we carry around, the things we own, please gather your belongings and head to the exits. But belonging also points to something more deeper. The feeling of belonging points to something much deeper, the feeling of connection and responsibility in community. So if I were to ask you to show me your belongings, you might hold up your bag or your phone or your keys. You might think of a special collection you have at home of figurines or what were the Beanie Babies, perhaps. But if I asked you to show me belonging or a space of belonging, You might instead tell me about a community where you feel free and safe and trusted and rooted both in the past and the future. If I asked you to gather your sense of belonging, you might gather up relationships and feelings. The thing is that belongings as things take up space, while belonging as relationship is about creating space. And even though the kids are in the back, I want to tell you a story this morning. This morning after the service, we'll be using a new meeting space for our post-service discussion. It's the study inside the office where I previously had my desk and where several of my predecessors sat. Behind me when I was sitting at that desk was another office, one that for years had been used by a former religious education director. If you were to go into that room at that point, the calendar on the wall still said July 2015. And that room was filled with books and curricula, and since July 2015, all the things that had no other place to go in the building. As that room sat on my shoulder at my desk, I began to realize it was not just a room filled with physical things, with belongings, but it was also a space that symbolized some periods in the life of this congregation. Yes, joyful times, but also difficult times. Times of disagreement, of departures, of scarcity. It was a memorial to how things once were here, but it was not serving us now or helping us move into the future. For example, as I was cleaning it out, I found volumes of curricula and resources that were once cutting edge, pushing the boundaries of gender identity and sexuality and race as they were popularly understood at the time. So it was a wonderful connection to our people in the past. But in this community right now, some of them seemed a little outdated. Other materials had otherwise not aged very well due to an implicit bias that they had and had not wrestled with at the time that they were published. My favorite find was this. Does anybody know what this is? I heard the word Polaroid. I think we're all in this room old enough to know what a Polaroid camera was and that they've come back, but as sort of a retro thing, right? My favorite part of it, as I've told some of you, is that it has this lovely note on it. August 2001. This camera works outside. We're looking into getting a flash so that it will work inside. I do know who the owner is, but I'm not going to share that right now. But, you know, it's now 2025, I think. Have we gotten the flash? I don't think we ever did. I don't know. And nor do we really need this. And that has been sitting on a shelf in my office as a good reminder. But the camera is an example of our belonging, but it also represents the ways that any community can let its history or older ways of doing things take up space and be obstacles to transformation and growth and belonging in the future. Excuse me. So let's return to the word belonging and its different meanings. I've been troubled and am troubled about how the word we use for possession and ownership is also the word we might use to describe a community of freedom and trust and relationship and transformation. Ownership as claiming and controlling versus trust and freedom and expression. Certainly one of many examples of the ways that the language of capitalism inserts itself into our everyday conversation. Just think, what do we value? What do we put money towards? But there's also a form of ownership at play in creating a sense of belonging. Not ownership in the sense of possession, but in the sense of responsibility, mutual responsibility. When I felt true belonging, I felt that the community supports me and that I have a role in maintaining and carrying the community forward. I have a sense of being held and a sense of responsibility and purpose. That feeling connects me to the past, to the legacy and shared language of those who came before, and it also ties me to the future because I know I am a part of shaping what comes next. And that feels good. I also know about myself that the more deeply I feel connected to a community, the more easily I can slip into overfunctioning. I can feel like I have to take it all on, that the entire community is counting on me alone, that I can get lost in the idea that I have to earn my belonging. When this happens, I can get so focused on wanting to make everything just right, or thinking that I'm the only one who really knows how to do this, that I forget to make space for others, to share responsibility, to invite others into the work of shaping the present and future of a community. By your smiles, I recognize looks of recognition either about yourself or having seen that in me. So that's validating. Thank you. In those moments when I'm feeling that way, I've confused belonging as a feeling in a relationship, and I've started to think of it as a belonging, something I have, something that I want more of, something that I don't want to give up, something that I might jealously hold if somebody else is looking for it. And it starts to feel like a safety blanket or something I might stash in a closet and hang on to, even though there's new energy emerging all around me. Beloveds, there is new and renewed energy in this community right now. A seeking and a hoping, a desire to find and be a place of belonging in the midst of a world that is so focused on division and difference and aggression and acquisition. It's a longing to be held by a community and to be of service to a community. So my invitation to all of us is to lean into this energy, to take risks, to deepen trust, to try new things, to invite new perspectives if we've been here for a while, and to offer new perspectives even if we've just arrived. Let's learn to let go of the things that have worked well for us in the past and lean into discovering those things that will work for us in the future. Heaven knows we're not living in the same world that this congregation was in 2015, let alone last year or last week. So let's lean into transformation and growth. Let's hold on to our proud history and our shared legacy, and let us make room for belonging so that we can build our shared future together. Amen.